First and foremost, I just want to thank each and every one of you for taking time out of your very busy schedules, especially as we're approaching the main holiday season, to join us here for this month's December Accelerate Series webinar. Our topic for this month, it's very fitting considering we're coming to the end of a fabulous year. We decided that our Accelerate series should really be to highlight the new features that we rolled out in 2024. So for a lot of you, I just want to be clear. It seems like everybody can hear me, correct? Somebody chatted and they can't. So it might be a one-off individual that can't hear me, but it sounds like everybody else can. Do me a favor, just hop into the chat. Let me know, yes, that you can hear me okay. And once I get confirmation from a few people. Okay, good. All right, thanks everyone. So unfortunately, it seems like it's just that one person. And for that individual, I'm sorry. You'll watch this recording back. Again, like I said, thank you for taking the next 45 minutes out of your day to join us here today for our 2024 new features wrap up, where I plan to highlight all the feature releases, little enhancements, larger features that we released throughout the year. Now, we've hosted training on a number of these different items all throughout the year. And so while I will touch on them, I may not go through every little detail of each feature just based off of time. So just know that you will have the option to check out some great resources on any of the features I cover. We have user guides, videos, we might even have past Accelerate series that I've hosted specifically on some of these features. Without further ado, let me just start by introducing myself. My name is LiaJean McHenry. I'm our Senior Training Manager over here at AssetMap. I recognize several names in today's attendance list. So many of you have been joining me here for years for our Accelerate Series webinar. And I do notice the names that continue to come. And I appreciate that many of you have supported me through this Accelerate Series. Honestly, that's been going on for almost 5 years now, which is wild because I'll be at AssetMap for the last 5 years coming up here in a couple months. For those I've not had the pleasure of working with yet, I do handle all of our large scale training and events here at AssetMap, and I do host this Accelerate series once a month. We cover a different topic or different ways that you can use AssetMap, whether that's features, functionalities, thoughts, logics, ways of thinking. And if you like today's training and you're like, where can I go to find past ones? Lucky for you, I record them all. So I will show you where in app you can find them. Now, our agenda is short and sweet today because, like I said, we're just going to go through the features review of what we released in 2024. Some you might be aware of, some you might say, what? I didn't know that came out. And that's my hope today, is to kind of give everybody some great takeaways. Now, disclaimer, because those of you that know me know that I'm the disclaimer queen. For some of you that are enterprise clients, we might touch on a feature or a functionality that you don't quite have access to yet. That doesn't mean that you might not get it in the future. Many cases, it could already be under compliance review. It's hard to 100% say. So there might be a couple features or functionality that I touch on briefly today. And if you're like, wait, I don't see that when I log in, it likely means that you're one of our enterprise clients, or it could be due to your subscription level. So I will do my best to point that out when we get to those features, just for transparency for the group. And of course, if you've got questions regarding that, you can reach out to our team and we'd be more than happy to talk to you about it. After I go through the features review, I'm of course going to point out where you can go to learn more, where you can find support and resources, and then we'll open the floor at the end for any outstanding questions for the group. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get to the good stuff, which is diving right into the application. What I'd like to start with is probably one of our biggest feature releases of 2024, which was none other than the client portal. So for the first time ever, we released a client portal where now you can give your clients access to log in and view their digital asset map at any time. Now, if you didn't attend my Accelerate series webinar earlier this year on introducing the client portal, I'll show you where you can find that in application. That will show you a full demonstration on how to create a client portal invite, how to send it off to your clients, what it looks like for them to set up that experience step by step. I'll, of course, point some things out and cover it at a high level today. But if you're like, I think I need to learn a little bit more about that, trust me, we have the resources built. Now, As of today, the client portal is read only, which means that when you give your clients access as of today, they will never be able to make edits to their current information. However, our product team is currently exploring making an enhancement opportunity that might be coming out in early 2025 that would potentially allow you to give your clients permission to make suggestive edits. So there's never going to be a world where clients are just going to make updates to their information and it's going to automatically update. That doesn't work. We spoke with tons and tons of financial professionals and they all agreed that it was a unanimous decision. Like, you cannot allow clients to log in somewhere and just make edits to override information without there being some type of like an audit log or approval process. So our product team is currently exploring potentially rolling out an enhancement that would allow you the opportunity to give your clients access to make suggestive edits. Now, I don't have an exact timeline of when that will be released. If you're an enterprise client, that will have to go through your compliance department before something like that could ever be released to you. So it'd have to be approved. But I'm just prefacing for the group so that you can be aware that we do have some exciting things coming down the pipeline in 2025. And you can bet your bottom dollar that I will be covering those features and things as they come out in the new year. So hopefully, if you're brand new, you'll be enticed to continue to join me once a month because I love having you here and I hope that you gain value out of these sessions. So, enough about that. Where do you even go to initiate the client portal? Number one, you have to have a client added into AssetMap. So here I am in my Jetson household. I've got my primary client, Neil, and Lauren, his spouse. When you click into any of the members of a household, there's now a fourth tab up at the top. It's called Client Portal. When you click on it, this is what it's going to look like if you have not given them a Client Portal invite or they have not set up their Client Portal. Okay? So this is what it looks like completely from scratch. You click into a member, it'll say their Client Portal is inactive. In order for you to create an invite, you have to decide, do you want them to register using a specific email address? People are like, I don't understand why that matters. The client's email address is their client portal username. So if you're someone who's like, I'm worried about them having 6 different emails, I really need them to just use the one email I have on file for them in case they ask me what's my username, then you need to check this box here and require them to register using the email address that you have on file. If you're like, I don't think it really matters, because listen, most people probably have a work email, a personal email, maybe one more. So they'll probably remember what they pick. If you're like, I'm fine with them picking their email if they're choosing, then leave this box unchecked. Now, the next step is you have to decide, what do you want to give them permission to see on their client portal? Remember, client portal as it stands today, as of December 19th, 2024, it's view only. Okay. If and when enhancements become available to the client portal, we will release that and we will let you all know. There are 2 system defaults. There is view only, all available, and asset map report view only. Okay. When you click on one of these, it actually will open up below and tell you what makes up that permission set. So you got 2 options, one that's pretty robust and one that's very limited. All available view only is you saying, I want to give this client access to view all of the items currently made available to the client portal. And those items are listed here. Okay. Ability to view the asset map report, the ability to print it, view the balance sheet, ability to print it, beneficiary report, ability to print it, so on and so forth. Okay. Now here's the thing. Again, it's read only. If you give them all available view only, you'll notice there's things like target maps are not included here because as of today, we do not make things like that available on the client's portal. Okay. The intention of it as it stands today is that they can log in, they can view these reports in these different sections, and if you allow them, they can print reports at any time. Now, the other permission set is asset map report view only. This is your limited view. This is, hey, you can log in and you get a home page and you can view your digital asset map report and you can print it, but that's it. Now, these are the 2 system defaults you can choose from. All available, very robust. Asset map report view only, very limited. But you can create your own custom permission sets down below because, like with many things, you might say, well, wait a second. I don't necessarily want them having access to everything, but I want to give them more than just the asset map report. Maybe I want to give them the asset map report, the balance sheet, okay, or the asset map report, the balance sheet, and the policy summary. Okay, great. If you create your own custom permission set and you name it appropriately, this is going to be a really easy way to be able to notate and mark that. I'll show you how to create custom permission sets in a moment. Now, if I was decided, you know what, I gave her husband access to everything, I want her to have the same view, so I'm going to say all available. Scroll down to the bottom, click create invite. When you create the client portal invite, it is your responsibility to copy this link and communicate it to that individual. Okay, you're copying this link, you're sending it off to them. Now, when you create a client portal invite, the link is valid for 7 days from the day that you create it. So if 7 days passes and this person does not click on the link and go through the setup process, which is just a few steps they have to do, this link will expire. If it expires, don't panic because all that will happen is you'll come back into this member just like this. You'll click into the client portal tab. This will say expired. And then on the bottom left, all you have to do is delete the invite and come back in here and create a brand new one and send it off. Okay? That's all you have to do. Now, every single member within a household can have access to that household's client portal. So you need to think about who does it make sense to give access to. Now, 9 out of 10 times, you're likely going to give the primary client and the spouse access to view their client portal, okay? But if there are additional members up along the top, you can think about this. Now, if they have adult children, for example, and one of their adult children is the executive of their estate, and Neil and Lauren says, you know, we want our adult child to be able to log in and view our map at any time. Maybe I do give that adult child access to this household's client portal in the very limited view. But as of right now, the only members in this household is Mimi Jetson, which is Neil's mother. Okay, she's a dependent. She lives in their home. They have a son together named Barry, who's 10 years old, and they have a business partner named Hank. The business partner has no business logging in and viewing this household's private asset map at any time, unless that was like a properly approved person, you know, a power of attorney, things like that. Conversation for another time. So just something to consider there. If I click into the primary member, you can see that if I click into his client portal tab, it's going to say that it's active because I created the client portal invite. His permission set is to view everything, and he went through the steps to set it up. So now he can log in. Now, down on the bottom left, I can remove this gentleman's client portal at any time. If for any reason there's cause or pause for me to remove this person's client portal, I can do that. I can always give them access to re-sign up later again. I can also preview their client portal at any time. So if I click preview, it'll actually take me in as if I'm the client. Now I'm still logged in as the financial professional, but this is what they would see when they log into their client portal. Based off the permission set will be the things they have access to on the left. They can click into the different areas. Okay. If they come to the asset map, they can click on the tiles. Notice that they can't make edits to it. It's just read only. And if you give them access to download a report, the report PDF options will be on the upper right-hand side. Okay. On the upper right, when a client is logged in, will be the name of the financial professional whose access this client portal was created under. It'll also give that advisor's organization name and phone number and email. So if they needed to access that information, they can find it there. Now, right now, I am previewing the client portal as an advisor. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click back on my main profile on the upper right. And if I click exit preview, that'll take me out of previewing that person's client portal back onto the advisor's side. Now, if I click back into the spouse, click back into her client portal tab, I could also preview her access. So watch, if I switched her permission set to be, let's say, asset map report view only, I could click preview and it would actually preview in and say, hey, this is what she's going to have access to. Now, it didn't limit anything here because I didn't click update. So that is the importance of when you're coming in here. If you decide that after somebody gets a client portal set up or even in this pending state, I could say, you know what, I only want her to have the limited view. You have to click the update button to save. Once you do that, then you can preview in And again, you could preview it and you could say, okay, what do I want to give them access to? This is the limited view. They can view the digital map as it stands. As you make updates on the advisor side to their asset map, it will flow through an update on their client portal. They can toggle between the different names of the members and the entities. Okay, so they can switch up the view. They have the ability to print. And if they have this limited view, this is all they have on the left. They can view their household summary page, which has their map nice and big at the top. Down below are some key financial figures, which is a roll-up summary of the entire household's data based off of income, retirement, non-retirement liabilities, and life insurance. Okay. Again, if I wanted to exit out of the preview mode, I could click on it here and click exit preview. If you want to learn how to create your own custom permission sets, the place you're going to do that is in your main menu on the upper right, going to your user preferences section. If you right click your mouse on user preferences and click open link in new tab, that's a great way to not lose the page that you're on. As a reminder, you can open up multiple tabs of asset map in a browser. In your user preferences section will be a client portal tab. This is where you can come to create additional client portal permission sets. So you can make selections and create them here. Okay. If you want to learn more about the client portal, all you have to do is click on the chat bubble on the upper right hand side, come right here to search for help and type in the keyword client portal. From there, you're going to have a multitude of resources that you can check out, videos, user guides, etc. While we're here, just so that I don't have to do it later, if you're in the search for help section, if you type in the keyword accelerate, this will actually take you to where there will be a section for webinars. And this is where you can come and you can check out my past Accelerate series webinars. So all of the ones I've hosted the past year will be listed here, as well as all of last year's. And we will continue to host them well into 2025. Okay, so just a reminder for the group. All you got to do, open up that help center, come to search for help, type in the keyword accelerate, and that will populate where you can find my past recordings. Now, while this is not a new feature of 2024, somebody did chat in and bring it up, and some of you might be thinking this as well. What's the purple dot here on proposed new term? So while this isn't necessarily a direct feature of Asset Map, as a reminder, there is a little hidden gem, which is our emoji feature, where when you click into any member, entity, or financial on an Asset Map in the reference name or insurance or location field, you can right-click your mouse and you have have the ability for the emoji option. Now, that's on a Windows computer. I believe if you're on a Mac, Apple computer, you might have to double click your keypad and it might open up, or you can Google how do I open emoji feature on Apple computer? Because unfortunately, I don't have an Apple computer. Okay. But what I often will do is anytime I put a proposed or a potential placeholder for a recommended policy or an account or something, this is just a method that I follow. I like to right click my mouse and come to the emoji option. I use colored dots the most, so don't get crazy with the emojis. Your compliance departments will not let you use this, I promise you, if that's the case. And if you're not sure if you'd be able to use this, you have to do your due diligence and check yourself, okay? But what I usually do is I'll come in here, I use the search bar a lot, and I'll just type in purple and I'll put a purple dot. The purple dot is just a reminder to me to share with this person hey, this is not something you currently have, but I put it here for X conversation. You can also use the emoji feature for subtle things like putting a question mark when maybe in the notes tab preparing for an annual review meeting, you wrote out some intentional questions you don't want to forget to ask. The only reason I tell you to check with your teams or determine whether or not you think you can use this is as long as the emoji features are on these tiles. That's how it's going to appear on the client's portal. That's also going to be how it will flow through in the printout, which, some compliance departments will not want those visuals on the physical printout. So just be mindful of that. Do your due diligence. I know a lot of financial professionals that strictly use this in live interactive meetings. They'll remove the emojis and things before they do any type of deliverable. And if you have questions about that, you can check with your team. Now, in addition to the client portal, another fantastic feature release was the addition of entity ownership. So I actually picked this household on purpose because here I have a primary client. This primary client has a business partner named Hank, and together they own this Airbnb company. So they actually own three amazing properties in really big tourist destinations, one in Hawaii, one in Spain, one in Tahoe. And they own not only the property, but they're also making rental income off of it every year. Just like if you had any type of business, more often than not the conversation becomes, do I add the business as an entity, or do I just add a tile on the primary client's map that puts the dollar amount of the business they own? Now, you can make that decision on your own, but I think you'll find that with the enhancement of entity ownership, you might like what this has to offer. What I chose to do is I added the business as an entity. So I came in here, I made this is an LLC, I put the name. I then selected the members and then put their ownership. Okay. Assigned entity ownership is the enhancement that we made in 2024. If you uncheck assign entity ownership and I click update, notice what happens here. Okay. The Airbnb business stays the same, but is it going to show, okay, the rental income and the properties that make up this business on Neil's map? Yes, it will. If you leave this unchecked, so again, assign entity ownership is unchecked, on the left, you can see, looking at Neil's map, it will list off the business income, but it shades it in yellow. If you look down here at the legend, anything shaded in yellow means owned by another. Well, makes sense. These incomes are owned by the business, and he owns 80% of the business. And you can have that conversation this way if you like. Down on the bottom, you're going to see all those hard assets. So those three rental properties, again, all highlighted in yellow. Now, some people like this view. Other people were like, I don't really like that because it doesn't show the percentage ownership that they have. It just shows like everything owned by the business highlighted in yellow. This is why we implemented assign entity ownership. When you click this, you then have to check that the percentages are correct, which this should actually be 80-20. So just do your due diligence to check. Click update. Watch what happens. Over on the left, the rental income for the business will still show up, but now it's rolled up and it's only showing the percentage that this person owns. So you can click on this and it'll say, here's all the rental income. Okay. Here's the rental income that's coming in, but here's 80%. This is only showing you 80% of what that rental income is for Hawaii, the Spain casita, and the Tahoe. Down below will also show the hard assets, but again, we'll roll them up. And this will show 80% of what those properties are worth. Okay. And so that's why you see that here. Okay. And that's going to be based off of the terms that you have. Now, look, if I come up here and I uncheck the business and I put the business partner, look, it does the same exact thing for him. And see how he only owns 20%? So that's what it's going to show. We'll roll up the rental income for the 20% that he owns, and we'll roll up the real estate properties for the 20% he owns. Now, what's very important about entity ownership is if you do decide to use this, when you come into the reports area, one of the enhancements we made throughout the year as well is for an asset map report, you can decide if you want entity ownership to be turned off in the report printout, or if you want the expanded view or the collapsed view. Now, again, on the asset map, this is the collapsed view. Everything's rolled up. This would be the expanded view. So when you go to do your report printout, you can make that decision. Moving on, 3 amazing new integrations were built and released in 2024. And again, for some of you that are enterprise clients, you likely don't have access to these. That's been predetermined by your company. But for those of you that do, now when you come into your main menu on the upper right and you go into that integration section, we recently released 3 new integrations this year, one with Planner, one with Holistaplan, and one with Adapar. If anyone has interest in learning about those 3 new integrations that we have and you do have access to them, you will be able to click the chat bubble here, come to that search for help section, type in any of those integrations. So let's say I want to learn more about Holistaplan. I come in here, I start typing it in, and we will go ahead and add that in there for you. Okay, so just start typing in that integration and we'll have those resources available. Now, in addition to not only releasing brand new integrations, oh, sure, somebody just chatted in and they asked, can you list the 3 integrations again? Yes. If you click on your main menu and you come to the integrations area, Okay. Again, for some of you that are enterprise clients, this area might be very refined, meaning there's only certain ones that have been pre-approved. But the 3 new ones we released this year are Addapar, Holistiplan, and lastly, Planner. Okay, so please just be mindful of that. Now, in addition to not only the client portal, entity ownership, and those 3 new integrations with Planner, Holistiplan, and Addapar, we made some amazing updates to target maps. My hope is that you attended some of my trainings in the past, but for some of you that might be brand new, perhaps you were unaware of what wasn't there before. If I hop back into this household, I'm going to go right into the target maps. We updated the target map summary page. So for the first time ever, you're actually able to see all of the target maps in one place with their funding breakdown readily viewable. In the past, if you ran a retirement funding target map, this funding bar would just be green because that is what a retirement funding target map is, okay? If you ever forget, these little dots, these colored dots on the upper left is indicative of the type of target map that you've ran. We have 5 pre-templated target maps that you can run, meaning that there's default assumptions that are being factored in when you initially run them. Now, you customize them all you want, but sometimes people will get confused because if they rename the target map and they're not including the word retirement, like how would you know if it's a retirement target map or not? Look to the dot to the upper left. We have the key on the upper right always available for you. Now, in the past, target maps were formatted to where the funding bar would just be the color of the type of target map that it was. Now, if you opened up the target map and hovered over the funding bar, it used to show this. It would break down out of this 95% funded, what percentage is cash, what percentage is assets, and if insurance was applicable, that would be illustrated in dark blue, like in this example here. Okay. So now for the first time ever, you can have really clean and concise conversations that out of this 95% funding, 84 of it is cash, the rest is assets. Now, in addition, we updated over on the left. We've always had the funding percentage, but we now added a funding circle. The funding circle will change color based off of the funding percentage. Where I think sometimes people get a little confused is they're like, is this Monte Carlo? No, okay? This is not Monte Carlo at all. This is simply what percentage funded are we in fulfilling this goal or achieving this need. So for this particular scenario, we're 95% of the way there. The funding circle is green. Now, this one, the funding circle is yellow, and this one is orange. And down here at the bottom, this one's orange as well. It goes off of the percentage. Our funding circle is broken up into quarters. So if a target map is less than 25% funded, it will be red. If it's above 25% but less than 50, you'll be orange. If you're above 50 but less than 75, you're yellow. And if you're above 75 and up, you're going to be green. Okay. We also condensed the options. So over on the upper right, you can click the ellipses on any target map. This is where you can find the edit, the settings, the clone, the PDF option, all of that's available. We have it kind of nice and clean and tucked aside. We also implemented filters. So for the first time ever, when you have multiple target maps like this view, I've got 2 talking about insurance, I've got 1 on education, okay? For the first time ever, you can come up here to the filters option, and this is where you can filter and isolate target maps by type. I could say, you know what, I only want to talk about the retirement target maps in my presentation. So instead of having the 7 target maps I had before, it isolates and only shows me the 3 that are marked as retirement. And I could also say I only want to look at ones that are associated with certain members. You could go ahead and do that as well. Okay. We also implemented things like the ability for you to pin a target map at the top of the page. So like many of you likely know, and if you don't, here you go, you'll learn this today. You can drag and drop target maps to go in the particular order that you're trying to tell the story, okay? But if you pin a target map, you'll never be able to drag anything above it. So if I pin this option here up at the top, it gets blacked out. And then if I try to drag this scenario above it, it looks like it sticks for a second, and then it immediately puts it down. You can also mark if something's a target. So within every type of target map, you can select one target map. Think of that as, I should say, Half my advisors use the target as an indication of like, this is our target, this is what we're aiming for. The other half my advisors are like, this is currently what the plan is. Whether or not we agree with that's how the plan should stay is different. So you can decide how you want to use that section. In 2024, we also released target map comparisons. So if I go back to this view where I have all these different target maps, you have the little check marks here, okay, check boxes. You can select up to 3 target maps, a minimum of 1, a maximum of 3, and you can put them into compare mode. This will isolate anywhere from 1 to 3 target maps at a time. You can drag and drop them to put them in a different order if you'd like, and it really allows you to isolate and have conversations. I personally like this view. While you are somewhat limited to the changes you can make here, I don't think it's necessary when you're isolating and having the conversation. And we make it really easy for you to just click on the funding circle if you wanted to open up that target map to then go and change parameters. You can use your backspace button to bring you back to target map comparisons. Now, over on the left-hand side in every single household, we have 3 interactive reports. And while these 3 interactive reports do flow through, okay, as the reports in the reports area, I think people forget that, sometimes you might want to pull up a balance sheet or have a policy insurance conversation or a beneficiary checklist of sorts, and we may not have a need to physically print this out as a report. While these 3 reports are available for you to create deliverables, balance sheet, policy summary, beneficiary report, we do have them interactively on the left-hand side. Now, while this is not a new feature, okay, clicking into the balance sheet and being able to interactively have a balance sheet, net worth conversation, this is not new. This is not something we rolled out in 2024. What we did roll out is that in the beneficiaries interactive report, we now allow you to isolate primary beneficiaries versus contingent beneficiaries. For the beneficiary interactive report and in the printout reports as well, you can only select one person at a time because we're saying, hey, if this person was to pass away, here's all their unearned income, assets, liabilities, life insurance, other insurance, okay? And here are their contingent beneficiaries. What you want to pay close attention to is anything that's marked unassigned. Unassigned means that you might be missing information and you need to open up those accounts to put who the contingent beneficiary is. Same thing for primary. Now, as of today on the report printout for the beneficiary physical reports, only primary beneficiaries will appear on the printout. The ability to have contingent beneficiaries on the printout will likely come sometime in 2025. So in addition to allowing in this interactive view to view primary beneficiaries versus contingent beneficiaries, that's new in 2024, we also released the beneficiary visualization. So now in the interactive beneficiary report, you can switch to the beneficiary visualization. It's still the same information, but we're simply displaying it in a way that makes things a bit more interactive. Again, up at the top, you can only select one member at a time. So here I have Neil. What I'm going to pay close attention to is this unassigned. Now, if I click on life insurance, for example, okay, this proposed new term, there's no beneficiary selected. Granted, it's a proposed policy, so maybe I don't care about marking the beneficiaries for that one, but that's an easy thing to explain. If I click into liability, I'm like, oh, the mortgage. Okay, well, who's going to be the beneficiary of the mortgage? Well, that's joint rider survivorship. Okay, so we don't have to add that in, right? Same thing goes for some of these things. Anything that's jointly owned, right, goes to joint rider survivorship. However, if I was to click on a member, like for example, I click on Lauren and I decide to isolate and look at her primary beneficiaries, okay, I can come here and I could look at any of these different items and see if anything needs to be assigned. If something was unassigned, I could click into the tile right here and it would open up and I could mark who the beneficiary is. Again, you have to remind yourself, is this joint ownership or should there actually be a beneficiary that is selected? Because anything jointly owned is going to be joint rider survivorship, right? So whoever passes away first would then get that. So the beneficiary visualization has been quite the crowd pleaser. Same thing with like contingent beneficiaries. You can view primary versus contingent here in the beneficiary visualization. While this particular view does not flow through to a report deliverable as of today, I think it's going to be really powerful for you to have estate planning conversations. I don't think people understand the importance of having beneficiaries up to date, so please make sure that they're doing that. Now, on the asset map report, another new feature we released was Sidebar. So, for years, for example, if you were to click on any instrument on an asset map, okay, you click on any instrument, the modal opens in the middle of the screen, but it cuts off half the map, and I can't see any of the insurance assets or even reference how old these people are, for example. Okay, so what we implemented was something called Sidebar. To access it, all you have to do is be on a digital map, right click your mouse, come to toggle visibility, and look for where it says Sidebar. You just have to make sure that's checked on one time. If that's checked on, then over on the right, you're going to see a little tab along the bottom. If you click that, that opens your sidebar. Now, as of today, you all will likely only have one option up at the top, maybe two, depending on if you're an enterprise client or not. Some things might still be going through compliance approval, but you will not have the bottom two. In 2025, we are going to be adding additional things to the sidebar, so more to come on that. But for today, we're only going to focus on the things that were released this year. The first option is members and financials. This little microwave icon, that's what we joke, it kind of looks like a microwave. If you were to click on that, it opens up your sidebar fully to the right. And then if you were to click on any instrument, it opens the instrument and right justifies it on your screen. Now, if you're looking at this, you're like, but wait a second, it's cutting off half of your asset map. It's only because I'm zoomed in for presentation purposes. So you could see that if I just left my screen at 100% zoom, I could freely click into any of these different items and it's going to open it over on the right hand side. Okay, and I can access that. And for those of you that have access to legal instruments, you can also open legal instruments over on the right. You can see any legal instruments that have been added for the different members and entities. This is a quick way for you to add in additional legal instruments as well. Okay, and if for any reason you don't see that, it's likely under compliance review for you, okay, and or will be released to you in the early new year. Now, I personally think that that's a great segue for us to move into another feature release, which was legal instruments. So, for the first time ever, you're now able to add in whether people have a testamentary trust or a will or a power of attorney or really any other type of legal instruments people might have, like a medical directive, things like that. Again, some of you that are our enterprise clients, legal instruments might be under review in your compliance teams right now. So if and when that does get approved, it will be released to you. How you'll be able to see this though is you'll be able to right click your mouse, come to toggle visibility, and you're going to see an option for legal. Now, my legal box is unchecked. If you have access to legal, you probably didn't even know that you could hide it. And so many of you might have noticed over the last several weeks that now above your primary client and member, there's this legal option, this little legal tile. Okay. So if you were to click on this here, you'd be able to see any of the legal instruments that you've added. This is also a quick place for you to be able to add them. Okay. And that legal tile or toggle will always be here. Now, I don't know about you, but you may not want this visually on the asset map all the time, or you might not visually want legal, like that little legal bubble, if you will, on the printout. So we do allow and made the enhancement to allow you to right click your mouse, come to toggle visibility, and you can either hide the legal bubble or keep it on the page. Okay. If you hide the legal bubble, it's not going to be there and it won't be on the printout. Now, if you're like, but what if we need to reference those legal instruments? All legal instruments, whether the bubble is hidden or not on the asset map report, will always flow through into the relationships area down at the bottom, or excuse me, the financials area, I apologize, will always be on the financials page down at the bottom under legal instruments. Okay. So whether or not you have the legal bubble available or hidden on the visual asset map report, legal instruments will always be seen here in the financials drop down, and this also will be on the financial inventory report in the report section. Okay, yes, this training is being recorded, and if you are not an enterprise client, you will get the recording probably within an hour after today's training. If you're an enterprise client, I sometimes have to submit that for approval before we can share it off. Okay, and again, legal instruments is just a way for you to notate legal instruments. You're not uploading documents or anything like that here. If you needed to be able to upload documents, a workaround could be in the notes section of the legal instrument. Maybe you have a link to a Dropbox folder or a shared drive or something like that where you store that. That could be a workaround for you. But no, there's no way currently as of today for you to add legal documents, but you can link out to other things if that's helpful, just because a question came in about it. Now, one of the other things to mention is that in the relationships area, we now allow you to add in not only professional relationships, okay, down at the bottom, but you can also add in other entities and or personal relationships. And for the first time ever, you can add people that might make up these people's financial picture, but people that you don't necessarily want on their asset map report. Under personal relationships, okay, I added in my primary client's brother, for example. When you add that person in, okay, when you're adding in, you can add a relationship to display. This is something new we added in 2024. We allow you now to select from a number of different options in terms of the relationship or role type that that person plays in this household. And sometimes the relationship name that you select might not be indicative of what you would like to reference this person as. So you can just type it in here for relationship to display. And then you can decide, do you want this person to be included in the household or not? So because this person is not checked to include in the household, that's why if you go to this asset map report, there is no Paul Jetson along the top. Okay. But if I intended or needed him to be, I just come back to the relationships area. I'd click back into edit and I would say, you know what? I do want this. Oopsies, I clicked into the wrong person. I come right back onto the brother and I click include in my household and I click update. If I mark to include him in the household, then back on the asset map, okay, I have to refresh my screen. He will appear up along the top. Okay, Paul Jetson's there now. Now, back in that relationships area, in addition to the ability for you to add in personal relationships, other entities, you can also add professional relationships. So this might be a CPA or a power of attorney whose contact you might want to notate. When you add a professional relationship, there's no way to mark that this person is a part of the household. The intention is that you're able to notate who these individuals are, and it will flow through to the relationship inventory report where we'll list those individuals' names out, but it will never appear on the asset map report. Okay, so you can pick who that relationship is. In the details tab, it's their contact information. Notes tab works the same, just like it does in the application. Free text field to add anything else in. Now, one thing that I always like to point out too is for the first time ever, when you go to add a member, we also implemented the ability for you to add pets. I think it's very exciting just because, for a lot of our clients, their animals might be very significant in their household. I know that in our household, we love our dogs as if they were people. I mean, granted, they're dogs, but we love them like people. So I can add in that pet. I can come in here and I could mark this as like family dog, okay? Or maybe, this is our prince of this household, okay? And then for the first name, you can type in the dog's name, okay? Last name is Ziggy Smalls. I could put the dog's birthday, or I could just say the dog is 4 years old. If I mark include in my household and I click create, that pet will be added onto their asset map, and it will be up at the top of the asset map here. And we have the little paw print, which is just to die for. And I had to show that to the group. So look how cute this is. And then you can add in the dog's expenses and things like that if you needed to. Okay, the paw print is just indicative of any kind of pet. That was just kind of the icon that we went with. So if they've got cats or, reptiles or things like that, you can add them into. An enhancement that I thought was worth bringing up to the group. So in addition to allowing you to select from all different kinds of member roles and the addition of pets and allowing you to mark people that you might have personal relationships with that should or shouldn't be included in the household, the addition of professional relationships. Speaking of the relationships area, this is where we also released in 2024 relationship maps. Now, for our enterprise clients, this just was released to our general user base. And so this is likely under compliance review for you currently. So if you log in and you don't see relationship maps later, it just means it's not been approved for you yet. And it'll likely be coming down the pipeline for you. In the relationship section, when you first click into it, this will just be the standard view, the list of all the members and the entities and professional relationships that make up this household. However, for the first time ever, you now can switch to the relationship map view. This is where you can actually build custom illustrations, obviously somewhat limited, but the ability to isolate members and entities and really drive conversations to go deeper than ever before. So this is ultimately an interactive map view that can be used to help visualize the people and entities that surround, impact, or influence the client's financial decision making. And you can create up to 10 relationship maps per household. Down at the bottom will be the docking station, and that will be comprised of the members and the entities that make up this household. Anyone marked to be included, you can find that there. Okay, and then you can see that. Now, down below that is also the ability for you to add connection tiles. A connection tile is just another way for you to like draw connections between some of the boxes if you were trying to illustrate something in particular. You can also just draw connections between the boxes themselves. So between the dots is how you can draw connections. If you accidentally draw a connection you don't like, you can click on it and you can remove it. If you don't like this connection tile, you can just delete it altogether by clicking on it and deleting it. Last month, I hosted an exclusive webinar on relationship maps. So if you'd really like to learn more about all the different ways you can learn, use, and leverage relationship maps, I would highly recommend you check out that webinar. And again, if you're an enterprise client, this might not be approved for you yet. And so we will make that available as soon as it's approved, and then can share like any training recordings regarding that after. Okay. Now, down at the bottom, you'll have the ability to change between the different relationship maps you created. One big one we're seeing often is the generation conversation. So Mimi is generation 1. She has 2 sons, Neil and Paul. Neil is married to Lauren. Together they have a son named Barry. And that's why I added custom text boxes on the left, excuse me, to illustrate those. Okay, generation 1, generation 2, generation 3. You can also create relationship maps that really don't have a lot to do with the members and entities and simply just use the custom text boxes. So I knew an advisor that was kind of already building this on a whiteboard, kind of having the income budget conversation. You can ultimately kind of rebuild some of those things as relationship maps. As of today, these little charts that you build do not flow through to any kind of deliverable. So if and when this becomes available to you, if you're an enterprise client, or if this is available to you as of today, just know that this section does not flow through to a report deliverable as of right now. That will likely come in 2025. And again, if that does become available, it'll have to undergo compliance approval for some of you that might be on today's call. Okay, in order for that to be approved. So relationship maps are going to be very, very powerful. We recently implemented an update. So for those of you that have potentially been playing with the tool for some time, we always have stressed that you click the save button. We recently released a quick update to try to help with some auto save so that if you were to click off, it will like try to save where you left off. I would say as a good rule of thumb, just always click the save button just to be safe. Okay, that way you can save this and you can come back to it at a later date for presentation purposes. Now, in addition to relationship maps, we implemented the ability for you to add in other types of insurance. So for the first time ever now, when you right click your mouse and you click create and you come to insurance, this will be one of the first times ever that we actually allow you to add in medical insurance and or other insurance. So for the longest time, you could only pick from different types of life insurance, disability, long-term care, property and casualty, but this is where you can actually add in medical insurance and or other. When you click into medical, you'll notice that there's no benefit number that's required. So sometimes people will use the medical insurance as like a workaround to like put a placeholder for other types of insurance versus like if you pick other, for example, and you come in here, it might require you to add in a benefit number. Okay, so just know that those are 2 new things that have been added in, medical and other, and you will have the ability to add in different types of insurance in case there's, you know, a certain type of insurance that you'd like notated on their asset map or perhaps did not fall into those past categories. Now, one of the last features I want to talk about before we start to wrap up today is if you're on our elite level subscription. So again, this may not be applicable to some of you due to your level of access or depending on if you're an enterprise client, but we do have custom questionnaires. So over the last year, we've actually rolled out 5 out-of-box custom questionnaires that you can leverage. And if you're like, what are questionnaires? Questionnaires are ultimately a questionnaire that gets added into your asset map for all of your households, and you can generate a link that would then be able to send that questionnaire off to a client and or prospect to fill out a series of questions. Okay, usually it's just single choice answer or fillable answer. If you click on the floating help button on the bottom right, down at the bottom, okay, this is where you can request a questionnaire. If you don't see this, it means A, it's your subscription level, so you're not on our elite level subscription, therefore you do not get access to this. Or it could be that you're an enterprise client, and this will be something that would have to go through compliance approval. So out of the 5 out of box, we've got some great things like a sample risk tolerance questionnaire or an estate planning review or an annual budgeting worksheet. This feature isn't new per se, but for the first time ever, now when you send one of these links off, you'll actually be able to download a PDF report. That is a new enhancement that we've made. So when your clients, fill this out, you can download it in the history tab. You'll be able to download it as a PDF report. Or if you just wanted to download one of these as a PDF report in general to like use a hard copy, you can do that for the first time ever as well. The other thing to mention is that if you have access to questionnaires, we did add in questionnaire notifications. So the ability for you to actually be notified when someone fills out a questionnaire. Because the thing is, under the questionnaires tab will be any of the questionnaires you've opted into, but under the household itself, if you were to click this share questionnaire, it knows to link the responses of when you copy this link to this specific household. So you need to be in the household that you in fact want to send this questionnaire to. That way the software knows how to send it back. Again, if you want to learn more about questionnaires, you can check it out in the support center. The last thing I'll mention is just with the questionnaire notifications, that now lives in your main menu, specifically underneath your user preferences. And your user preferences down at the bottom underneath notifications, we have implemented the questionnaire completed notification, and you can decide, do you want to be email notified or just notified in app? I think email notified is probably the best way to stay on top of it. In app does work too though, and that's through the bell icon on the upper right hand side. Now, as we wrap up today, I think one of the most important things to mention is just continued training that we're offering. Over the year in 2024, I released our 3rd course for Asset Map University, which is our expert level course. This is led and facilitated by myself, but more importantly, our CEO and founder, Adam Holt. So over the last couple years, we released our level 1 platform certification course. In 2023, we released our process certification course, and in 2024, I'm so excited to announce that we released our expert level certification course. If you have questions on these courses, please feel free to reach out to us. You can purchase a course individually, or you can feel free to purchase the bundles. Okay, so just wanted to mention that there. Of course, over the years, I continue to host Asset Map Virtual Bootcamp. If you're not familiar with Bootcamp, this is an incredible event, one that we only offer once a quarter. We successfully hosted 4 amazing Asset Map Bootcamps in 2024, and we're even more excited to get started in 2025. So for those of you that might have interest in wanting to come to our next virtual bootcamp, it's coming up January 19th through 21st. This is going to be a great opportunity to come check this out. Or excuse me, I'm sorry, January 28th through 30th. I apologize, I put the wrong date in the chat. So click on the link, it'll take you to this page and it'll give you those dates. We are offering early bird pricing right now, so take advantage of that 35% off discount. We still have some seats available. Our November bootcamp, which was our final one of 2024, sold out in like 2 days. If you're on the elite level subscription, don't forget that you are able to attend bootcamp at no cost because it's included in your subscription level. So if you need that special code, you can reach out to our team. We will verify your level of subscription first because we have to make sure you're being honest. But once we do that, then of course we can give you that code. Other than that, as we start to wrap up today, I do always like to check in with the group. I would like to ask you all to participate in 2 very quick polls. Number 1, do you love Asset Map? For those of you that have just been getting started, or perhaps you've been with us for a while, if you love our platform and you have interest in writing us a review, it does mean a lot to us, and it does mean a lot to the people that are examining technology to kind of take their Asset Map to the next level. So for the many of you that are marking yes, you love it, and you would be willing to leave us a review, I just posted that there, okay? If you have questions about bootcamp, you can live chat into the team. So you can just open up the login to Asset Map and you can click the chat bubble and you can chat in, or you're welcome to email support@asset-map.com, okay? So I'll write that email It's because I see some people asking questions about bootcamp, or you can stick around at the end and I can live chat you personally. But if you have to jump off, you can feel free to do that here. The last poll I'd like to ask the group is, what would you like to learn more about when it comes to asset map? I ask this question often. Is there anything in particular in terms of topics or areas that you'd like more training on? Now's a good time to answer that question here. I put the chat or the poll up on the screen. If you don't want to type it in now, you can also live chat our team and or email us and just say, hey, I'd like to learn more about planning an asset map. I'd like to learn more about how to market asset map. I'd love to learn more about the marketing materials you have. This is a good time to be honest and add those things in. I'm going to end that poll. If you're typing something out, just feel free to live chat into our team, or you can use the chat feature and I can help you with that as we go through. As we wrap up, thank you so much for your time today. I hope you all have a great rest of your week. I can't believe that Christmas is next week. So if you celebrate Christmas or have Hanukkah coming up or happy holidays all around to each and every one of you, thank you for your time and your attention. I hope to see you at many Asset Map Accelerate Series webinars in 2025. If you said you'd be willing to leave us a review, please feel free to do that. Other than that, I hope to see you at the upcoming boot camp if you have interest. And that's all I have for us today. If you're willing, I did post a quick survey. It's 2 questions. Let me know what you thought of today's training, if you thought it was valuable and or helpful. Also in the survey, you can also notate, I enjoyed today's training. I'd love to learn more about X, and that will be another way that we can send some materials over to you all. Other than that, that's all I have for us. Thank you so much for your time and your attention. I'm going to stop our recording today.